Hey, hey, hey.
Hey,
Hey, what's up? What's
Everybody?
up?
what's
What's
up?
up? It is your
Hey,
What's
girl,
going on? What's
everybody.
going on?
What it
and we
do?
are
What it
totally
do?
naked. We are going live today. And so I have my dynamic co-host with me. I have Dominique. I got Jackson in the building. What's up?
What's up?
Hey, hey.
Yes. And so we actually have two special guests here today. We have Dr. Sterling Watson, and we also have Mrs. Dion McCoy. But before I go into who they are, I kind of wanted to just throw out some house rules real quick. This is a live, and so we want you guys to join in on this conversation. Please, if you are here, let us know you are here by saying, what's up? Say hello. If you are listening to this broadcast on a replay, just type in replay. We have some great guests on today. Dr. Sterling Watson, all the way from South Kakalaki, is in the building. And Dr. Watson has so many hats. He wears so many hats. And so he is an elder. He is also a professor. He is also a counselor. He's also the assistant director at the Counseling Center at the University of South Carolina. So he brings a wealth of knowledge. He brings a wealth of information. And so we welcome him. We thank him. He is not a stranger to Totally Naked. And so we rock with him. So thank you. Welcome, Dr. Sterling Watson. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Blessings, y'all.
Yeah. So you guys, if y'all got burning questions y'all want to ask Dr. Watson, y'all need to do that. All right. So we also have in the building Mrs. Dion McCoy, who is she just has a new podcast called Girl, Why You Still Single? All right. And so we ain't trying to be single no more as ladies. And so we got Miss McCoy in the building. She's also an entrepreneur, has her own cleaning business. And so she's bringing her knowledge and her wealth of information as well. And so thank you for joining the conversation today, Mrs. McCoy.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So let's jump into this conversation real quick. So me and somebody's son, I'm sure you guys have heard, this saying going out. And so women are becoming more notorious for owning their sexuality. And we're saying that, you know what? I don't necessarily need a husband. I don't need a babe. I just need somebody's son, right? And so there's a lot of females who are starting to have this as a goal or a mantra. And just recently in news, we've heard Boosie. I don't know if you guys know who Boosie is, but Boosie's like a rapper who is like notorious for like sharing his thoughts and his views and like in the most controversial way. He don't care what he say. Like if it's on his mind, it's out of his mouth. Like he doesn't like have a filter. He's no filter Boosie, right? All right. So Boosie had a lot to say about Lori Harvey, all right? And so Lori Harvey is this like beautiful young woman, like she's probably like 22. She's actually Steve Harvey's daughter, and she has had like a lot of relationships that have been out in the open, right? So she's had this string of relationships that have been high-profile relationships that we're getting to see play out. And it's one thing for her to have a relationship, but then like the relationship ends really quickly. So basically, we want to talk about what Boosie said. Boosie's like, I ain't feeling these goals that women have, and we need to be celebrating the bachelor, and the man is able to pull these women, so to speak. And so, what do y'all think about what Boosie said about Lori Harvey and her body count?
Jack, you're on mute, Jack.
You on mute, buddy?
I haven't said anything.
Listen, I feel like Boosie need to be focused on Boosie. Boosie, he talk about he don't want basically no thoughts. He trying to say he don't want nobody who has slept around, but he been slept around. He done been passed through the ringer a few times. He a little used baggage. So, I kind of think that he need to sweep around his front yard before he starts talking against somebody else in a way that they keep in themselves and their home, But, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick and say a few things, I think it's really interesting. I think that we've had a double standard with regards to sexuality and the expression of sexuality for quite a long time. And so I think that there is a traditional kind of thinking, that suggests that women who may engage in dating the way that it appears that Miss Harvey has been dating, is her being promiscuous or her being uh, inappropriate, with regards to her dating practice, where she may simply be expressing, her right to choose, a particular mate, and I think that we have moved in the society to the degree where I think women are to use this language reclaiming sexuality and their sexual agency from the degree of expressing their needs, their wants, their desires, and trying to date or engage with men, that they may have interest in. Now, this is a double-edged sword, because I think it comes with some other repercussions, that reverberate through dating for women and for men in general, and that's a much bigger discussion, a much broader discussion, and I think we'll probably get into it as we kind of get into today's discussion. So those are just my quick thoughts.
Yeah. So my take on it is, I just feel like, would it be such a issue if she was dating like regular type men? Like, I believe that it's only an issue now because she's like in the light and she's dating really well-known men, and it's bringing more attention to her because she's more in the light. So I think if she was dating like regular guys, they probably wouldn't even notice who she was dating.
But you bring a good point about the regular, because I think that, and let's be totally naked, I'm a regular chick, okay? And so, and so when Boosie make those comments, like, Lori Harvey ain't the only one who's dating around. I'm just saying, we regular chicks, and we date. Correct, we date. We regular chicks, and we date. I think that I would like to. I think that to your point, April, Boosie liked to be in the light, and Boosie liked to say the first thing that comes on his head. And I think that he knew he was gonna get a little bit of radio play on it. Well, at least he got shut down. They tried to cancel him after what he said. But I think that, he wasn't thinking about what it is that he was saying. Because if women wasn't dating or at least exploring options, if things didn't work, then he wouldn't even have no baby mamas. So I'm just saying.
I think that one of the things, like, not to defend it, I think that, it's one thing when you're dating and you're getting to know yourself and it's just dating. I think that the issue that we don't know if she's having sex with all of the men that are out there. And I think that if we're talking about just dating in general, that I remember being young, and I remember being out there trying to figure myself out, who I like, who I don't like, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And so when I was in high school, it would be a string of situations where I may be dating somebody, 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, I'm dating somebody else. And it's like, on to the next one, and I think that we're watching, but dating, I'm just talking to somebody, I'm not necessarily sexing them. I think that when you're young, that you have that flexibility. And I think that we also, as we're watching, these relationships go out, and we're saying, okay, this is my relationship goals, I want to be like Lori Harvey. We have to place in perspective the fact that she is young. That's a young woman. But I think that if she's out there dating and she's just getting to know herself and keeping herself, that's one thing. But if she's sexing a whole bunch of people, it does kind of look shady. And and if you're a young woman watching this right now, I think that it's one thing for you to get to know yourself. But the thing is, like, I know Boosie is the wrong person to deliver this message. I think Sunita said that. But
definitely.
Yeah. But there are men, I think that overall, when it comes to our body counts, they're not necessarily looking for the girl that got 20 and 30. And then when you get to my age, where I'm 40 and dating, then, like, we're not looking for you to have no long string list of dudes that you done had sex with. And so that kind of brings us to, my next point, which is, like, do we think that we as women, or do you guys think that women can handle can y'all handle a woman's body count being this long list? What do y'all think about that? Can we handle it?
I guess my thing is how, I mean, I typically don't like ask that kind of stuff because it's to be completely honest, it's kind of none of my business. Like it's none of my business what that is. Now the thing is, in Lori Harvey, I mean, you can assume that her body count is high. And the thing is, I know that, you know, with guys and girls and whatever, the body count for us is going to be looked at differently than the body count for you guys. I mean, it is what it is. So because miles on us look a little different than it does with than it does on females. I mean, it is. I mean, you just got to be aware of those optics that come with that. But I don't. It's really none of my business. I'm like Dominique, I'm a regular dude, so it's like all my stuff is not gonna be like blasted all across the front because it's not. It's just not it's not something that I overtly ask because I don't want to let anything mess up the vibe between you and I. So I don't go asking all that kind of stuff right off the bat.
So
April, you were shaking your head a few seconds ago. I'm curious, what was that head nod about?
Yeah, I'm like, my thing is that I think that as a Christian woman, right? Like, I really wish that I was able to give my virginity to my husband. I don't know if you guys have watched the show Bridgerton. Have y'all ever seen Bridgerton before? It's
Not
like
yet.
No.
the show. No. Okay.
Not
so
yet.
for the viewers, for those who have not watched Bridgerton, Bridgerton is like based out in Europe somewhere, right? And it's like back in the early 1900s. Okay. And so with Bridgerton, it's like you get to see how being able to keep your chastity and keeping your virginity was like this notable thing. These women were able to be plastered, and they are looked at as dating material or for being wifed, you know. And so there was a scene on there where she had never like it would be a scandal if you're like kissing like super heavily, like, and you know, we go past that on just watching movies, like in the, you know, in the comfort of our homes, but it would be a scandal just to be kissing. And so like they virgins for real, right? So I'm like watching this and I see a scene when she finally is able to lose her virginity, and the like just her husband kissing on the back of her neck was like freaking her out. And so then he was like, look, wait, I want to show you more. And I was just like, dang, girl, you don't even know what he about to do. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, girl, he about to do that thing. Like,
oh my God.
Go down.
You're crazy.
Like, girl, like, you don't even know.
You are crazy.
But the point of it is,
April, you feeling some sort of way.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, it had me feeling some kind of way. I'm just like, I wish that I would be able to, you know, have that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I don't get to do that per se unless I can be a little bit more chaste or abstinent. Because I think that what happens is when we like start blowing through all these dudes, like for me, if I'm a female and I'm blowing through all these dudes, then, you know, like, what do I have to look for? You know, and I think that even though there is a double standard, there's a double standard, because I think I've heard this before. Y'all fuse can get blown too. And we've seen where these fuses get blown and dudes be like, I can't even, you know, perform at the level that I need to perform because like she done freaked me out. I'm thinking about Shonda from 10 years ago who did some real crazy stuff. And I think that like, okay, I'm going all the way in, but it's the truth. And I think that like for me, it's just like, I think chastity is important. So I'm being naked. I'm letting it out, but that's the truth.
No, it's all right. Well, we are called the Totally Naked Show. I mean, this is Totally Naked. You can't be real here, though. I think that as women, because let's take it back. This me and my son, right? I think a couple of things. Perception is that we need to be setting ourselves up to where we're just not expecting any old body stuff. That's just the number one. We just don't want any old body son. And I'm gonna give credit to my girl Lori Harvey because she ain't dealing with just anybody's son. I'm just gonna say what it is, right? We can't throw salt on her name because she, as a young woman, knows the level and caliber of man that she want to be with. That's just the bottom line, period. Now, if she was dealing with a whole bunch of bums, then y'all would be like, ooh, she dating beneath her. Why she dating these bums? You know, then we would have something to say about that, right? I think so.
But see, the thing about it is, just because these people who she's dating, and I don't know the whole list, are well known, does not mean that they're not bums. So for me, because bum for me is a mentality, so it's a little different. I don't know what's going on
Well,
behind.
when we're talking bum as in character or bum as in financially. Because what we see from the outside is that they ain't no bum financially.
If you just looking at money, then you might be right.
But
I don't know what's going on behind doors. I don't know.
But Jack, the whole thing is everybody is looking at it from the front third party view.
Correct.
Like we don't know if Lori Harvey is having sex with these people. We don't know if they was even in full blown relationship. The paparazzi could pull up on somebody right now walking down the street and they thinking they're in a relationship and they just bumped into each other at the corner ice cream store. Like everybody and their mama in a relationship. So what I'm saying is the point that I'm making for women, because I know y'all gentlemen is on the show with us today, but it's about us women tonight, okay? So for the women, I think that we don't need to feel that we cannot explore the options that are being presented in front of us, right? But we do, because there is a double standard, unfortunately, that will never go away. The double standard has been there before, probably our grandparents' parents been alive, okay? This is something that won't go away, so we need to be conscious of it. And we need to ensure that the way that we are portraying ourselves to the public, or the general fish in the sea, is the billboard that we want to, the world to see. I think that's very important because I personally know I could not handle the emotional baggage and the emotional devastation that comes after a while when you constantly have casual sex, when you constantly are casually dating, when you constantly are spending your, just throwing out your time casually doing a lot of recreational dating. And I couldn't continue to take it as a woman because I started realizing that some things started changing. I started getting a little non-feminine because you can't be busted down queen and still be Miss Pris and be Miss, very pristine feminine. You can't. You can't do that.
And I call those people frauds because you can't be portraying yourself as one person and then in the background acting differently. So your whole fraud.
Yeah, I think
because you can't handle it.
I want to throw this out here because I think that is one thing for us to say that a regular dude, right, is like not the guy that she's dating, and so it's okay. But in my mind, I think that I'm not an entertainer. I'm not a high profile person. Everyone doesn't know my name, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the people that I'm not someone with value. Just the same as the dudes that you're dating. Like I think that everybody holds some type of value for the most part, and like Jack said, like a bum, like he just like really is like slothful, like lazy, don't do nothing. But I think that in the grand scheme of things, we are dating out here, and we're dating the common man. All right, and so and truly, our emotions do get involved as women, and I think that to address the elephant in the room is that we have this push for women to be like I think that the issue is that our goal is to be more like the man. Like, I don't want to be a sexist person and say that it's okay for men to have a string of women and it's okay for them to have all those notches on their belts, because I don't think that. I think that, we all should be a little bit chasing. I think we can all stand to do that, especially in dating, because there are soul ties. I don't think we talked about that, but every time we have sex with someone else, that is not our husband, we're like having a spiritual connection. We talked about covenants the other week. A covenant is, when a blood covenant, actually, if I'm a virgin, is a blood covenant. And so I think that the point of it is that, one, when we're dating, we're going to have to start to reel it in as women, because like we can't be men, and men, although they may be notorious for this, like, do we really want that? Because does it make us, are we taking away the good girl status? Like Boosie said, like, I'm looking for a good girl. So then at the end of this, like, I've had this string of relationships, and now I want somebody to wife me, and then it's like, I don't even feel as comfortable with that in myself, because I may have 2 or 3 kids or 4 or 5 kids in tow. I got all this emotional baggage, that I'm bringing into relationships. So I think that, like, that's where the vein that I'm coming from. We are dating the common person because we're common.
Yeah, I think that Boosie is assuming that she's having sex with all these men, right? Because I don't think the issue is that women date. I don't think the issue is that women date around. I think the issue is that women sleep around, right? It's not so much that she went on a date here or she went on a date here. It's a matter of, did she share her purse with every person, right? Because a man don't want no run through, beat down purse, which we understand none of us want our purse to be run down and beat down either, right? So
but we can get a rejuvenation.
Well,
keep going. You know what,
Y'all might be way too totally naked for me.
Whoa! She said, "We get rejuvenated." No, but the point is, right?
That Sanita King put on.
Cynthia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, here's what. I'm sorry. You want to see the comment? My bad.
What did she say?
Is it not?
She said, "Listen, y'all. If I'm dating Michael B. Jordan, y'all gonna see it too. I'm posting it."
Okay. We don't care about the judgment.
That is true.
Absolutely.
True. Or interest level for me and my.
I think. I think if we move away from, the Bootsy thing, and we just kind of look at relationships and look at the current trend, with women and men and dating in Black culture, I think that from what I understand, it's relatively problematic, So we're talking about, somebody's son, we're talking about hot girl summer. We're talking about, again, women, claiming, their sexuality and their right to have what it is that they desire, right? The question becomes, in this current trend and this current movement, what is it that, is being accomplished? Are women really, by looking just to hang out with somebody's son, getting exactly what they need or what they want or what they desire? Are women being in sex for intimacy, believing that sex will lead to something more? I mean, like, when we talk about somebody's son, what exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about the desire for intimacy? We use the language relationship goals. That's become the popular hashtag. And I think somebody wrote a book entitled Relationship Goals, and kind of outlined and delineated, the difference between the world and the world's culture and God's culture. So Christians and those who are believers or disciples of Christ walking in a certain way with regard to relationship, and then being and utilizing the world standard, So the question for me comes, as I think about this, what is it that our sisters are looking for and attempting to achieve when they're just trying to be with somebody's son? That's bagels, that's relationship. What is the end game? And I'll use the language that my pastor used in a sermon a couple of weeks ago. What is the end game, of being with somebody's son? What
I think
at the
I
end
think
of
the
it,
end game is
what's
that
the
you
end
really
game?
like. I can't hear you, but I
What?
think that the end game is that we just don't want to get hurt. I think that it's a defense mechanism, honestly. Like me and somebody's son, like I'm taking ownership of my sexuality. I'm taking ownership of the fact that I'm not looking at you like a husband material. If like if this is where our culture is moving towards, then I'm good with it. You know what? I just want to get bust down too. Which,
So
I think we're fooling ourselves sometimes.
My,
right.
Go ahead.
So I guess the question is, and going back to what Stern was saying. So it's like, all right, so you with somebody's son. Okay, congrats. So what's the next step? Is that just to be with somebody's son and keep doing that? Because the thing is, you can't just be, oh, I'm with somebody's son, I'm with somebody's son, and then it's like, well, if I'm with him eventually, then I'm going to get married. Because to tell you the truth, and this might sound sexist, and I'm sorry if it does, it's not us out here saying, hey, let's get married. Is for the most part. For the most part. So
I
it's
think
like
that
if
that's
you're
the
thinking,
thing.
But that's the
if
problem.
you're
Y'all need
thinking,
to be
yeah.
saying, let's get
if
married.
you but
I
if,
think that it's more
but the thing
gospel
is,
saying let's
but the
just
thing
get
is,
married.
if you're
Then you
portraying yourself as somebody who just wants to be with somebody's son, that's not portraying yourself as wifey material. So why would we? So what would even influence us to even say that when you aren't portraying that at all?
I
And
definitely
going back to what he said, it was Dr. Mike who wrote that book, Relationship Goals, and it's
Michael
actually a really
Todd.
good book.
Michael
About that.
Todd,
Just
that's
give
his
him a
name.
plug.
Yeah,
So go
that's
ahead.
Michael Todd.
Pastor Michael Todd.
So
That's his name.
yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I read that book. So my take on it is that I had to check myself because I was one of those females who used to say me and somebody's son. But after, taking an evaluation of where I am today, I'm 37, single, no children, looking for a husband, and I'm not really dating intentionally. So my thing is I had to take a step back and really, talk to God. We had to have a serious one-on-one conversation. Lord, what's
Come on now.
good? And from
Have a little
what
talk
he
with
told
Jesus.
me, listen, what he
Tell him all
told
about my
me
problems.
was that I need to start getting serious about this thing, because even though I was dating around, he was telling me, okay, this guy is not good for you. But how long did I waste with this particular guy? Wasting
Right.
time, just dating and not being truly intentional about who I'm dating, why I'm dating, praying about my dating, and different things like that. So I just had to take a step back and really find out who I was as a person and realize what I really wanted. And now I feel like I'm on the road to recovery. Hence why I started Girl, Why You Still Single? So I'm just trying
Come
to be
on.
more intentional about my standards in dating, and just being more serious about it, because I feel like a lot of females are not serious, and then they end up 40, 45, 50, 60 and wondering why they still single, because they out here playing these games, just want to be with somebody's son.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you
Correct.
think that you
So
like?
that
Was it
actually
your
goes back to
answer?
what April was saying about her being young. And you're right. She's young. She's trying to figure it out. Hopefully, she can learn from you and other people that might not be the right road to go down. But who knows?
Yeah, but I really do think it's a response. Like my thing is like even with Dion. Like I'm 41, but I like want a husband. It's not that I don't want to be married. I think that the thing is that I think that you come to a point where you start to say that, okay, candidates, like there are men out here that could be viable candidates, but we just as a culture are growing cold to the idea of marriage. And so then yes, Sunita, I believe that's her name. We're our standards.
Cynthia.
Like I think that we start to lower our standard. And the standard, that we've lowered it to the point that, okay, you know what? I'll take a warm body.
Yeah.
I'm good with just having any son.
But
Just to
then,
have somebody
where
next to
does our
me.
faith come in to know that God will fulfill our promises? So we just
Right.
can't lower our standards just because, okay, we ain't got nobody, and we're a little older, and we just want a warm body. We have to realize that, okay, God promised me a husband, so I know He's gonna send me a husband. That's
Right.
my
Yeah.
thing.
I'm 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 curious about something though, because we're talking about standards, right? And so what are these standards that are being used, to determine who is actually an adequate or a good enough, candidate for someone being a husband? What are these expectations, that we might hold. Though, remember those lists y'all had when y'all was in high school? He got to be 6 foot tall.
Listen,
He got
we
to be
had to
strong.
revamp
He
those
got to
lists.
be
Apparently,
dark, tall, and handsome.
apparently, we all got to be Michael B. Jordan. I mean,
Absolutely
I'm
not.
Oh,
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
because he is
Okay,
not.
I'm just
Hey.
saying.
Okay, so
Hey.
just first, Dr. Watson, I think that the truth of the matter is that it's one thing for us to have a standard of what we would look for in a mate as a man, but I definitely think that there are, like, really the truth of the matter is we're looking for the man to take the lead, and we want the guy. It's the guy's role, his job, right? For him to find a woman. He who finds a wife findeth a good thing and favor in the Lord, right? And so if that's the case, then
So
I may have my list, but it's truly up to the guys to approach us and be like, okay, look, I think that you are a viable candidate.
You know what? I love it. I love it when ladies take that verse and they just think, oh my God, that means
come on,
that
Jax.
I'm supposed to be this damsel, and they're supposed to just walk up to me because he who finds them a wife findeth a good thing. But but everything else is like the whole submission stuff and all the other stuff. We gonna glance over that. He just has to come up to me.
Oh no, I'm glad
Bible
you
and-
put it
I'm
up,
not
Jay.
thinking
I've been waiting patiently.
Hold up. I'm not. Can I finish? So my thing is, yes, we can find you, but you have to make yourself available to be found. Like, you can't be out here going from man to man to man to man. You're not available to be found. You can't be out here doing stuff like you doing, and then you available to be found. Like, we're not looking for things that are already found. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, I got a lot to
And-
say.
Right together.
Hold on, wait. I got a lot to say. Let's back up real quick. Let's back up, because I got the comfort jack. Hold on. Don't try to throw that verse out there talking about the submission part, because right underneath that verse it says that the man should submit to his wife as Christ did for the church.
Correct.
Hello.
Correct.
I want to see more men. I want to see more men. No, hold on. Well, hold on. I want to see more men step it up, because you have to remember, us as women cannot tango by ourselves. We are tangoing with men who are also recreationally dating out here in these streets. Men who do not want to do anything with the relationship moving forward. And you basically limit our circle, unfortunately, because the ones that are ready, we may not be in that sphere, or they don't want us because we get tagged with the strong, angry black woman. She too successful, blase, squaze, right? I think that at the end, men need to be open and understanding that we live in 2022. There are going to be situationships. There are going to be Netflix and chill dates, because that is the culture that we're in. And you can't hold that against women for participating in that. You can't hold that against, because us as women can't hold it against you for the women who you was Netflixing and chilling with. So I think that men also need to rise above and find a standard.
So what you're telling me is that everything that we do as men needs to come directly from the Bible, and we need to be out here finding you guys. Because I'm hold up.
Basically, if we can't sleep around, you got to follow the book.
Because I glanced over the verses that talked about situationships and Netflixing and chilling in the Bible. So how much are we going to believe in that, and how much are we not? Because I didn't see in Ecclesiastes where it said,
listen,
or not Ecclesiastes, but in Proverbs where it said, he who findeth a woman findeth a good thing, but you can also Netflix and chill, and she can also Netflix and chill, and they can be.
But no, you intertangling. Hold on.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask.
No, wait, you're intertangling the point. The points are being intertangled. The point is that men say they want women who have standards. Essentially, we're being held to the standard of the Bible if we can't have no bodies underneath us. What I'm saying is the man needs to also bring their standards up. We got a lot of women who have a low standard or bodies, because there's a lot of men who don't have standards at all either. So when you're in a culture with men who don't have standards, you're going to be birthing a generation of the women who don't have standards. We got a perpetual circle of people with no standards.
Okay.
I don't know these men. Like I know
agree with you with
and everybody else.
Like,
listen,
what are you talking about?
listen. Here's the thing, y'all. And I think this is an excellent conversation. And I think that this really speaks to how culture influences how we think about how we ascribe or how we engage in relationship, and even the process of dating and mating, right? And that's not how God had intended it. And so here we are. The Bible says that we should conform to this world. We should conform to the pattern of this world. So we're conforming to the culture of this world and letting the culture influence how we engage in our relationships, and how it influences our dating, and how it influences the value that we place upon ourselves and the potential mates that we might have. We begin to engage in something that tears us away from God's intention for us to have a divine relationship that brings him in the mix, that three-strand cord. What we begin to do is we begin to conflate the culture, and we begin to mix it in such a way that it creates so much dissension between men and women and the design that God had for us in the first place. We see what we need to do is we need to begin to transform our minds. We need to begin to
Right.
renew
There
our
you
minds
go.
and rethink this thing, because I think that the direction that we are headed in is going to lead us to failure. And
Right.
what
It is leading to
happens,
failure.
and what I am witnessing and what I'm seeing happening, in dating and in relationship, it creates this trauma. And it's not like we are not immune to the multi-generational trauma that visited our forefathers, our mothers and sisters, our aunties, all of the women who have come before us, who have engaged in these dating processes that little girls have watched and seen and have learned from. And so we have to be very, very careful, about this culture thing. We got to be careful
Right.
about this social media thing. We got to be
Right.
careful about this somebody's son thing. We've got to be very, very, very mindful that when we engage in the culture, we get so much further
We
from
get
God.
bent. Right.
We
I
get
think
so much further from God.
okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I
Jack kind
almost
of
went into
brought this
preach
up.
mode.
No, keep it coming.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. Like, okay, so is
Almost
it fair to say, like, 'cause, me and
switched.
somebody's son, right? Jack's kind of brought this up. Like, I feel like as women, if we hold our standards up higher, then they're going to have to raise their standard. And it's kind of basically what Jack was like describing without describing it. It's like, if we are women and saying that, what, all of us come together and we just say, what, we are viable candidates. I'm not sleeping with you. I know you want it. I know you see these hips. I know you see this waist and you want it, but I'm going to hold myself to God's standard. Then, and across the board, we are raising our standard as women. Then men are going to have to rise to the occasion, as they did in Bridgerton. It's like, I can't touch on you. I can't kiss you like that. Go ahead.
I feel like I agree with the sentiment that we need to raise our standards, but I don't agree with the sentiment that we need to be the ones holding the torch to hold the standard and let the man catch up to us. Because no, I don't think that's how it needs to be. Like, I think that if you have a standard, then you will know if someone else holds that same standard. And I think that it's important that when we're dating, that we are ensuring that we're dating the people who share the same standard and not wasting our time with the people who don't share that standard.
Exactly.
Because right now with social media and technology, DM is real. That loosey goosey pocketbook is real and it's accessible. They don't have to spend time on the good girl because they could turn right around and get the not good girl and get all they want. So I think that we just need to be looking for what we know to be equally yoked, what we know to be a good match for us, and go back to what Dion said and what you said, April, and stop being so desperate to get the warm body that we are accepting the bottom feeders.
Right?
That's a part of raising the standards, because the thing
Right.
is, if the DMs is real and everything, guess what? If I go on the DMs and I'm talking all this stuff and ain't no response, guess what? It's
He
no
gonna
more
have to
DM.
raise his
If I don't,
standards.
you see what I mean? Like, if, like, the thing is, it's like that old saying, if you're getting the milk for free, you don't have to buy the cow. If you're getting all the stuff for free, why then would I go out and be like, oh my God, I got to go find a wife for what? When I'm
Well,
getting all the stuff.
that's
Why?
between you and God at this point, because
That
if you don't
part.
want to hold yourself accountable, that's on you. If you
That
want to
part.
be dating, just out here dating just because for the rest of your life, you're not going to be happy. So
Yeah.
at some point, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that we all have to hold ourselves accountable. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Watson.
No, I was just gonna say I love what Dion said, and being intentional, right? Being intentional means that I am going to be responsible for the kind of mate that I entertain. Everybody ain't full entertainment, right? And
Uh,
sometimes we invite stuff into our spaces, that we should not entertain, because it leads to folly and destruction. Here's another piece that I think is really important, because we're talking about this whole dating game, and we're talking about bodies, and we're talking about all of this. And I think that the last time we talked about this concept of soul ties, right? And we talked about how these soul ties influences us, in these negative ways that causes us to have some negative emotions and some negative behaviors, right? That folks take on by, having these multiple body counts with folks, and I think it becomes really important from a spiritual perspective to be very mindful of that when we're saying, I just want to hang out with somebody's son to take this picture to look cool on Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or whatever the case may be. And so I think dating intentionally, and consciously becomes extremely important, especially in this day and age, if we want to have partners, and want to have a value, and a relationship that moves towards the end game, which I think is that covenant that April was talking about. The end game is marriage, right? At the end of the day, and so I think that's so important for us to underscore.
Yeah, I think
right.
that like the truth of the matter is like when it comes to dating, and if we're like starting to, we already as African American women we have deficits, I believe, that we end up seeing in dating. Okay, so you may have men who were incarcerated or who are still incarcerated that are off the market by default, right? We also may have where he may not be attracted to me anymore. He's attracted to same sex. So he's off the market. Okay. Then we also may have that he's not even a Christian. And so we're not equally yoked in that. And so I think that what happens is that when we're going in and we're approaching dating as women, that we're not finding as many viable candidates, right? And so you can get to the point where you are 30 years old, 37 like Dion said, 41 like me, and and so then you're like still waiting. And I think that like actually plays a role in just saying, you know what, at this point I like having company, but there's not a lot of viable candidates. I just, I just want to feel comforted, because you can get to the point where you just get worn out or you get weary in well doing. And I'm not condoning that, but I definitely think that, at some point, like it's one thing for us to say we're going to wait for that ideal candidate, that like really takes us down a rabbit hole of where we don't have as many potential candidates or people that can be the husband or that we could say I do to. I definitely think that, as a culture, we do need to talk about these things more often. And, like to say that you guys, we are killing each other. We are killing ourselves when we're not approaching relationship the way that God created and designed, when we start to adapt into the culture that society says that we should have, that women, it's okay for you to be independent, be strong, like you don't really need a man, like you can do this yourself. I think that, when we start to ascribe to that, we have this issue where we are like mating and we're mating with people who are definitely not God's best. It's not God's best for us. And I think that we do have to raise the standards overall. But I think that it starts with the women. And I know that we don't want to take accountability for that. But if we are like, I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we go the opposite way with me and somebody's son. That's what I think. I think that if we are saying that, you know what, my response to not having a good spouse or someone that's viable, you know, he's just playing around anyway. You know what? I just want to bust anyway. I think that when we go and we say, you know what, I'll just settle for you being in the bed with me or you just keeping me company with a conversation. When we do that, I think that we do our whole culture a disservice, and then we continue that. I think that the numbers are going to get worse with us getting married. And really, at the end of the day, if you're honest with ourselves, we do want the companionship, because at some point we're going to get old. And you know, I work in the healthcare field, and I work with people who, you know, are aging. And when you are aging, it is better for you to age and have that spouse, like, you know, he your eyes and you his legs, you know, like you're his hands, you know, because like at this, you know, at some juncture, we're not going to be able to do everything that we're doing as young people. And so it's good when we can come together and be, I think God created and intended us for us to be one, because we're going to have to rely on each other. And I think that if we don't do something about what this whole culture thing of, you know what, I don't really need to have a husband or I don't need a wife, then we're going to continue to go down a path where we're going to just have a bunch of single people and really distressed. It's a lot of stress, and the stress it's only on the adults, but it's more on the children. Our children are the ones who are really struggling the most with all of this, in my opinion.
That was really good. That was really good. And I actually not only spoke to women, but it spoke to me as well. So that's really good. It's a lot of good nuggets in there, April. A lot of good nuggets in there.
I think it's true. Well, I mean, we hit on a lot of stuff. I know we can be on these topics forever, but you know what? Since we talking about sons, me and my sons, we want to throw out this segment. All right. So this segment is called My Four Sons. All right. So
My Four Sons.
Segment. We're going to have Dr. Watson and Dion do this for us. All right. And so this is the way this works. And y'all can, you know, do y'all little comments in the y'all can do y'all comments too if you think you can guess it. All right. So we're going to do a list or string of relationships that a woman may have had. And by me saying the names of these particular sons that she dated, then you can be able to guess who the woman is. And these are high profile relationships, celebrities. And so you guys should be able to answer this. And so whoever answers it first is the winner. So I'm going to go with this string first. All right. So P. Diddy, Ben Affleck, J. Rod, and Mark Anthony. Those were her sons. Who is this woman?
Oh, the
J-Lo?
Puerto Rican girl. What's the Puerto Rican girl?
J-Lo?
Yeah,
J-Lo.
J-Lo.
Yep, it's J-Lo.
The Puerto Rican girl.
All right. Kind of Puerto Rican girl, almost Dion, but he got you.
Yeah,
J-Lo.
okay.
All right. So next one. All right. Billy Bob Thornton, Colin Farrell,
Halle Berry.
Brad Pitt. Who would you say?
Halle Berry.
No, Brad
No.
Pitt and Val Kilmer. Who is this woman? All right, I'm gonna give you the fourth.
Is it the lady with the dark hair? Is it
That's
the actress?
Angelina Jolie.
Yes,
Angelina Jolie.
Y'all, the men knew more about it than us.
I don't know all the names.
They be paying
Okay,
attention.
I'm not good with names. Hold up the pictures, and I can point to the
No,
pictures.
we know. We can't know. We know these people. Lord Jesus. All right. Okay, I'm going. We going. All right. This next one. This is a string of dudes. Her sons. Justin Combs. Sean Combs. Future. And Trey Songz. Who is this woman?
And Lori Harvey.
Justin Combs. Or Sean Combs. The Future.
You said
Wait a minute. Father and son? She dated father and son?
Well, we don't actually know that she did. I mean, they were just out in public together.
Oh, see, that's paparazzi. That's the paparazzi fake fraud.
This that stuff that's over my head, y'all. That's over my head. But I'm guessing it's supposed to be Lori Harvey.
No,
I'm guessing.
Lori Harvey.
Yes.
Lori, y'all know how to do.
I said it though. I said Lori Harvey.
You did. She did.
She did.
Harvey, y'all missed that one. All right, I got one. You said Lori Harvey.
Yes. I said Lori Harvey after you said the second Combs.
So she combing through the combs.
I can't.
Facts.
Okay, I got my last minute. Let's see if y'all
Terrible.
can hear this. All right. Chris Montana, Lamar Odom, James Harden, Tristan Thompson. Who is the
Khloe Kardashian.
You got it.
Khloe Kardashian. Wow. I didn't know none of these people. Or none of the people they was dating. I'm so out of touch, y'all. I'm not a good person to play this game.
Obviously.
Well, like April said earlier, this is something that we could talk about for a very long time, but we're not going to hold y'all up on a Wednesday night, okay? But like we always do in our good, totally naked fashion, we definitely want to send you off with some takeaways, some tips, some things to help you do what our good brother Sterling Watson, let me put Dr. Respect on your name, okay? Dr. Sterling Watson said, and let's transform our minds, right? Let's transform our thinking, because once we do that, then we set ourselves up to win in the end. So I'll go ahead and I will kick it off. The first thing I want us ladies to do is to please always hold on to your femininity. It's what makes us women, okay? We don't got to be hard. We don't got to be gangster. We don't got to act like we got the bag and we can pay for this or we can take them on trips, honey. No. Even if we can, we're going to let him do it, because we want to hold on to the things that make us soft, the things that make us precious jewels. So hold on to your femininity. It is what makes us women. The next one.
The next one is be careful with the relationship goals that you aspire to have. So what my take on it is, what type of standards do you have in relationship? What are your actual relationship goals, and how are you defining those relationship goals? I can't base my relationship goals off Instagram or Facebook or any type of social media. I pull up my Bible and I use those tips to help me. So just learn how to aspire, be more intentional about what you aspire your relationship goals to be.
Right. The next one.
So I think, we have to be conscious and thoughtful when we talk about relationship goals and we're aspiring to be like the world. But I think it's really important to also be conscious of soul ties, and be very careful not to create unhealthy soul ties, because a soul tie is tri-dimensional. It is body, it is spirit, it is soul, it is the essence of who we are. And when we're sharing and intermingling with other people, we're taking on their body, their spirit, and their soul. From a biological perspective, sisters, you create more oxytocin. I don't know if y'all know what that is. Look it up. It is the cuddle hormone. It is the hormone that is responsible for bonding. And so when you engage in sexual intimacy and you bond with someone physically, that oxytocin, that chemical, boom, it's like a drug, boom, and it keeps you in a negative cycle, of returning back to someone who may not be healthy for you spiritually or for your soul. So please be thoughtful and careful of creating unhealthy soul ties by being with somebody's son.
That part. Go ahead, April. Take that next one for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, all right. So another takeaway is we're going to wait for the right one. Don't rush and don't settle. I think that Dion put this point, the nail on the head, when it comes to allowing God to talk to you and tell you about who it is that you are supposed to be dating. When we go in and we decide who, we're going to just date anybody, we're going to date casually. We can set ourselves for a lot of heartache, a lot of emotional baggage. And it definitely isn't God's best for us. And so when we are in this dating situation, we're not going to settle. We're not going to rush. We're going to wait on God, so to speak. And so I think that is the best advice that we can do in this dating situation.
Absolutely. And last but not least, take it home, Jay.
God's standard still works. This is going back to what Dion said. You know, you got to read your Bible and make sure that you pull the tips of what God ordained for a relationship out of that. We have to raise to his standards. I know me and Dominique had a spirited banter about the standards of society, but when we both, male and female, raise ourselves to God's standards, those standards are always perfect and will always work to give us great relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do pray that you take all of those tips and those tricks and you please allow it to seep in and help to change your mind. Because just like we want you to have healthy, loving relationships, we want the healthy and loving relationships too. You never know. One of you guys watching might be my husband, so I hope you're taking notes. We absolutely love that you took time on your Wednesday night to come in the room with us. We please ask that you like, share, and subscribe. Go ahead and do as I always say and drop this video in a DM if you have to. We love you to life. And until next time, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.